You kind of look like you're in a dentist chair in a way.
There's my weird YouTube studio behind me, and I'm in this weird dentist chair. So yeah, wow.
Don't be Beto. Like, don't. We need humor, but seriously, don't do that. So first, tell us what's up with you. What's going on? Because I know you and Ron had to kind of, cancel a lot of your dates for the comedy tour. So what are you guys up to?
Yeah, it's been it's crazy for everybody. The whole world is like, having to deal with this. We were planning on going to Florida. We literally were. I was in my apartment March 11th. There was a red eye flight we were going to take. That was Wednesday night to fly to do shows March 12th, 13, and 14 in Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. And I was like eating dinner, packing, gonna leave for the airport in about an hour, and I'm watching spring training baseball, which seems like that's a thing of the past. And they flashed across the screen that the NBA had shut down, and I was like, and so I called Ron, and we made the conclusion, and I'm so glad we did, because they started shutting down. We were like, we didn't want to get stuck in Florida and have to pay for hotels and all this crazy stuff. So so we had to cancel those tour dates, which was, it was abrupt, but then everyone's had to cancel everything. Everyone's, everyone's losing work. I'm grateful for my YouTube show because it is bringing in, some money. I've lost probably 30% of my revenue from the road between the Progressive Comedy Tour with Ron and going on the road with the live Jimmy Dore show. Jimmy's suspended all of his tour dates indefinitely. And we just had to reschedule our dates in April in Seattle and Portland. What Ron and I are doing are rescheduling all of our dates for the fall. So it's a crazy adjustment for all of us, but I'm home. I'm making a lot of videos for my channel, and I'm doing a lot of live streams, which people are liking. And Ron and I have even done. We did a Progressive Comedy Tour on Zoom, and we're doing another one this Saturday at actually 2:00 Pacific, 5:00 Eastern. And I can even put the link in the.
Yeah,
I'll put it in the chat. So what we're doing, like, for $5, you get sent a link, and you can. Where did it go? How do I chat? Is that? No, I don't know how to post in the chat. Host chat. There we go. Maybe I'm in that one. Okay, there we go. So yeah, here's the ticket link. So what we're doing is we've done a couple of them. They're a lot of fun. Everybody who buys a ticket gets then emailed the Zoom link. And then Ron and I each do about 30 minutes of sort of, it's not like straight stand up, but we do like comedy sketches. He does songs, I do characters, I do sort of like a, kind of a weekend update, late night, making fun of whatever politics.
What kind of characters? Like, what kind? Because I'm really interested. You guys.
Yes, many characters like that. I get out wigs. I feel like I'm doing sort of a grade school talent show, but it's
hilarious though.
It's so fun, and everybody's in the same boat, and people are really thankful. I've actually been doing more comedy sketches and stuff for my channel in addition to the news, because my audience has asked for it, but me too. I needed sort of a break because it's pretty heavy right now, obviously. So I've got to do stuff that's fun, and doing these live comedy shows online, live streaming them is so much fun. And so if you've got nothing going on, we did one Saturday night, but we have a last week, which was fun, but we have a lot of fans that are in the UK and Australia. So we decided to do one at 2 PM, which will be like nighttime in the UK and the following morning in Australia. So that's what we're doing. I don't
That's
know.
awesome. That's a great idea. I love that. It's not going to be as cool as when I had you both at the same time live That sounded bad, but you know what I mean. That was that was the first and only time I've done a live show in person. And then we had an audience for it, which was not that was new to me. But thankfully they were all very kind. And that was like an hour after you scooped me off the floor because I fell off the stage.
Oh goodness, I was worried. That was
Oh my God, that was bad. I could have lied and just said I was drunk, but I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm legally blind. It's dark in here. Oh well. So since you brought up Jimmy Dore, I'm gonna go there. You're probably gonna hate me and never want to come back on.
all right.
But I'm going to go there. So and Ron knows I've kind of spoken my mind with Ron and everything, and I love you both dearly. And you guys do your own thing. I don't watch Jimmy Dore. I'm not really a fan of him associating Bernie with Nazis and things like that. So like, how do you, if, presuming you disagree on things, how do you get past that? Like, as someone who works with him?
Well, look, Jimmy and I have been friends for a long time, and I've known Jimmy for 25 years, and I respect him immensely, and he's the one who talked me into starting the Political Vigilante channel. He, over 3 years ago, said, Graham, you should start your own channel. You should start talking about losing your home and all that stuff. So, in 3 years, I've gone from 164 subscribers to just almost 65,000. And a large part of that is because of Jimmy. So I got a lot of respect for him and what he does. And, we don't agree on everything. Obviously, when Tulsi backed Biden, I had a very different response than he did. And that's okay. I think it's for me, the thing I talk a lot about on my channel is, and I've said this from day one. Like, I love Bernie, but I've never said we should hang all of our hopes and dreams on one person, be it Bernie or Tulsi or whomever, or AOC, we should never do that, because, and I had a great interview with this gentleman, David Bethia, that is a canvasser for Bernie. And he made a great point. He said, look, I and most Bernie supporters are to the left of Bernie Sanders. He's just the most left of anyone that has a legitimate shot at the White House. And even Ron and I have talked about this. Even if Bernie wins, there's still, like, Ron says he'll just party for 2 days and then put his yellow vest on. If Bernie doesn't get the nomination, he's just going to put his vest on sooner. So, my criticism of Bernie isn't as harsh as Jimmy's. That's just where we differ on that. And so mine really is, Bernie was sort of my last hope of potentially getting a real progressive in the White House. I have no faith in the Democratic Party. I don't. And what we're seeing, and Bernie could still win it. I mean, in anything's, all bets are off now with this pandemic. So, I think as progressives, we all want the same things, and we're all very passionate about this and how to get it, and backing people and feeling let down by them brings up a lot of emotions for people. For me, all this shows is the thing I've always known. This was sort of the last shot of maybe overtaking the Democratic Party and making it an actual progressive party. But I don't see that happening. And I've seen AOC starting to get pulled to the center. And, I think Bernie does the best he can, but his flaw is he thinks he can reform from within. They're going to pass this awful bill. I'll say no to that one, but I'll say yes to one that's not as awful, and I'll get some amendments tacked onto it, and we'll get a victory. And that, for many progressives, myself included, is sort of, we're past that sort of like incremental fixing. And what it says to me is, all of us that were motivated and inspired by Bernie, it's time for us to leave the Democrat. We cannot reform the Democratic Party from within, and we need to start a third party. Maybe it's Movement for the People's Party. Maybe it's like a coalition of Greens and Labor and the DSA and everybody sort of working together. But the Democratic Party is utterly corrupt. The fact that they want to nominate Joe Biden, who has dementia and is a rapist, or now they're trying to just push Cuomo down our throats, who I just released a video on. He's been closing hospitals for 10 years. He's been gutting the nurses union. He's awful. And the corporate media is like, look, he's such a hero. He's so presidential. So for me, I just try to look at the bigger picture. And, you know, I've always said on my show, nobody gets a free pass. Anyone who's a politician, they don't get a free pass, and we need to hold them accountable. And if anybody's movement is predicated on one person, it's not a movement, it's a cult. Ron Placone said that. And that's, so when, you know, some Tulsi supporters flipped out at my response, my video calling her a sellout and whatever. And some Bernie supporters have gotten mad over too much criticism in their eyes. It's a healthy debate to have, but ultimately we've got to find something better than these two utterly corrupt parties, because it's just like that bill. We could argue the fine points and who should have this or that. But ultimately, $4.25 trillion just got given to a bunch of corporations, and everybody today just had to pay rent. And most people don't have it because they've been laid off or furloughed or whatever because of this pandemic. And $1,200 and, you know, a small business loan and, you know, unemployment. Those are nice, but I hope those things all come through. But what are we going to do? And so we really need to figure out what it's going to take. And it might take a general strike and stuff like that, which are things Bernie's never really been about. He's not about like big, strong revolts. He's reformed from within. God bless him, but it's time for something more. It's time for doing what the Amazon workers are doing, what the Whole Foods workers are doing. They're just saying, no, we're not doing this. And they're talking about organizing, not paying your rents in Los Angeles right now. And there might be more cities doing that, because people are like, some people just, I can't pay rent today. What do you want me to do? I can't do it. So that's my overall view on all of this, is there's just a bigger thing to look at.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Bernie, I've always held him accountable, but you know, the past month or two, he's been disappointing me, like really, in a number of respects. First of all, speak the fuck up to Joe. First of all, speak the fuck up. Like, no, he's not your friend. No, he cannot beat Trump. No, he can't. You can't say, oh, well, it's going to take a grassroots movement to beat Trump, and then be like, yeah, I do think he can beat Trump. No, he can't. I'm not voting for him. Chances are you're not voting for him.
Right.
There are millions of us who will not vote for him or Cuomo. Yeah, Cuomo has a nipple ring. Awesome. That does nothing for me. No, like, that's not enough. I mean, so like, that's your one, you know, your one thing that I'd be like, oh, okay, we have a president with a nipple ring, so that's kind of redeeming. Other than that, like, you're garbage. So I'm not going to vote for you. So the fact that they're trying to take, you know, I volunteered in Iowa for 5 weeks. A lot of us have given our soul to this campaign. And I still, you know, work for the campaign, like volunteer for the campaign at least 20 hours a week. So for someone to come in winning no delegates or winning no states, and then being like, yeah, we want, you know, him as the nominee. And they're not even trying to hide that shit like they did in 2016. They're just blatantly like, hey, let's make him the nominee. What was your response when you started, you know, seeing those articles and seeing that they are literally trying to replace Biden with someone who never even ran?
No, I'm actually not surprised at all. I mean, look, Tom Steyer and Bloomberg just bought their way in the middle of the primary. They just bought their way on stage. And, you know, Mike Gravel and Tulsi Gabbard were not, they were all, you know, Mike Gravel was never even allowed on stage. He's a real anti-war candidate. I thought Tulsi was more of an anti-war candidate. I'm questioning that now with her endorsement of Biden. But the fact of the matter is, she did qualify, and they wouldn't let her on the stage. And so I'm not surprised by this at all. I really, I'm not. The Democratic Party is, I'm not surprised by any of their tactics, because they, I mean, and the corporate media just goes right along with it. They will not call out Biden being a rapist. They will not call out his dementia. And if they do, it's because they've got a guy like Cuomo that they're grooming to step in there. And, you know, and I share the same disappointment with you. I've sort of kept waiting these last couple months. Oh, Bernie's going to finally start taking the gloves off, and he won't. And he says, my good friend Joe Biden, and he won't call out the corruption. We've all watched it in real time. Double-digit exit polls with Bernie winning in districts that then Biden wins, and they all had electronic voting. 750 polls closed in Texas. It's preposterous. Bernie should have swept up on Super Tuesday, and they are just blatantly rigging our elections, and he won't call it out. AOC won't call it out. And so it's just like, I'm not going to just keep doing this incremental, you know, kick the can down the road and hope that in 2024 we'll get. I've heard that, Joy, for 30 years. I personally, as an adult, have been voting for 30 years, and I've heard that we'll get them next time. Take the little breadcrumbs. And you know who doesn't have to take breadcrumbs is the goddamn ruling class. They just got $4.25 trillion. Well, we're going to scramble around with $1,200 and hopefully get unemployment and maybe get a small business loan if we're lucky. If we're lucky, that's what we're going to get. And so I'm sick to death of, we have to make, the 99% has to make concessions. And if Bernie doesn't want to fight hard, hey man, I thank you for inspiring all of us. You're 78, I get it. You know, then we're going to just move around you and keep going, because this movement that he has inspired, and we have to give him credit for that, we have to just keep going, because, and the thing that is inspirational is some of people are realizing this pandemic is obviously awful, but it's pulling the cover off and showing, hey, see how deadly capitalism is? See what I mean, it's funny. No one's screaming, how are we going to pay for it? A month ago, everyone was like, how are we going to pay for Bernie's Medicare for all? No one's asking how we're going to pay for it. No one's asking for it. And guess what? When we have, you know, 1 million some COVID-19 cases and 100,000 deaths, and you know what's going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now? All these bankruptcies, because all these people went to the hospital for 2 weeks, they survived, but they're going to have a $30,000 medical bill. I mean, I have insurance, but if I get this, it's going to cost me 20 to 30 grand if I'm in a hospital for 2 weeks. There's no two ways about it. And so we're going to really see this, and people are realizing, you know, if you tell all the CEOs and billionaires to stay home, who gives a shit? They're assholes anyway. But we're seeing how critical not just the medical personnel is, the people that manufacture the products. Oh, many of them were manufactured overseas thanks to NAFTA. Thank you, Clintons, for that one.
Thank you, Biden.
Thank you, Biden, for that. We're seeing, of course, you know who's really important? Someone who works at a grocery store. Somebody who's unloading the trucks, who drives the trucks, who is stocking. You know, I just was at the grocery store today. I tried to go as little as I can. And there was like 2 or 3 women whose job was to just go and clean the handles on everything. They got to do that job. That's their job. And then, you know, the cashier and, you know, like all of this stuff, and they've got masks and plexiglass and all this stuff, but they are frontline workers, and we're seeing how important they are, and they should go on strike. Because Jeff Bezos, I'd love to see Jeff Bezos and Steve Mnuchin bag groceries. I'd love to see them, you know, give change to people who may or may not be infected with this and not know it. I want to see them go through it, and I'm really sick to death of the ruling class, and we just need to be done with the 2-party system and just start general strikes to shut everything down, to get them to wake up to what our demands are, which are just basic human decency.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's even more heart-wrenching is, I agree that a lot of people are, you know, unfortunately, it took a pandemic to wake so many people up. But there's so many fucking pieces of shit who still aren't on board with Medicare for all and think Joe Biden is enough. Even though I've worked in healthcare over 10 years, I've read his plan. It will leave a minimum of 10 million people uninsured. And that's presuming the rest can pay for it. So the cognitive dissonance is cancer to humanity. So do you find a lot of that too, that people just, so many of them still aren't willing to, like, say like the Alyssa Milanos and Whoopi Goldbergs are still not, they're still so completely privileged and out of tune that they're still totally cool with, things like what Joe offers.
Yeah, they don't care. I mean, Alyssa Milano is just the quintessential any blue will do neoliberal, believe all women unless they accuse Joe Biden or Bill Clinton. Then they're probably Russian assets. Like, they're so full of shit. And what's going to happen to the people that don't are like, well, how we get Medicare for all? It's going to affect them or a family member. They're going to see this. They're going to lose their job and go, how am I going to pay my bills? And they're going to see these corporations are going to buy up, snatch up small businesses. They're going to do what they did in the housing crisis of 08, 09. When I and 6 million other homes got taken by the banks. So one of the things that happened, to me is they told me to stop paying my mortgage. This is in late 2008 after the financial crisis. I lost a bunch of stand-up work and TV work and all this stuff. And like the whole country had lost work, the whole world had lost work. And they said, if you fall behind, there's all this stimulus money that was just passed. And they put and we'll take care of you. So I did what they said, and then I fell 30 behind over 30 days, and they said, oh, we're going to put you on a 3-month forbearance, and we're going to cut your mortgage rate in half, and in that 3-month time, we're going to restructure your loan with all this stimulus money, and then we want to keep people in your home. That's the goal. After the 3 months, they said, oh, you don't qualify. You've been paying half payments for 3 months, and that happened to me 2 more times, once under Bush and twice under Obama. And that's how they stole my home. And they're going to do that again. They're going to do that again. And the neoliberals who say, and the people who's like, oh, you should have paid your bills. It didn't happen to them. They didn't lose their jobs. But guess what? This is going to make the housing crisis look like a rainstorm. I mean, it's going to just look like afternoon showers, because we have a global pandemic, and there's going to be a complete economic collapse. There's going to be 25-30% unemployment come summertime. So, and the corporations are going to snatch stuff up. And what are you going to do when the airline CEOs are laying people off while taking bonuses? People are they're not going to take it anymore, and it's going to affect everybody. And someone is going to just have a regular medical something, and they're going to go to the hospital, and it's going to be full, and they can't get it or whatever. Their kid gets sick, or they're going to have COVID-19, and they're going to get a $30,000 bill. And they're going to, wait a minute, I pay my bills, I have insurance, I have a good job, and then what? So people are, whether they want to believe this or not, they're going to wake up to this fact. And also, for the how we're going to pay for it crowd, they just wrote, again, $4.25 trillion. So people better really wake up to what MMT and realize what that is.
Exactly, that a boy.
I have a whole MMT playlist, and so if you want to learn about it, follow people like Fidel Kaboub or Citizens Media TV or Dr. Stephen Hale, Stephanie Kelton, who's Bernie's financial advisor. You're just seeing that everyone's like, wait a minute, so the Federal Reserve just gave out $6 trillion? Yep. They just created the money and gave it out. So if they could do that for corporations, you know what should have happened? They should have gone free healthcare, student debt forgiveness, that's done, rent freeze, or we're just paying everybody's rent for the next 3 months or 4 months. Venezuela's paying it for 6 months. Everybody's wages stay the same. They could have just done that, and the whole country would be in relief and relax. And nope. So everyone's going to have, whether you believe in this, whether you believe people like you and I or not, you're going to, because it's going to come jam you right in the ass, and you're going to have to believe it.
Absolutely. And, Miss Nina Turner shared an article the other day that just stuck with me, that a lot of African American women, especially, are not getting the treatment they need for the virus. And that's kind of, as disgusting as it is, it's almost expected because that's history. It's so disgusting. And, you know, it's almost like they're using this for eugenics in some, does that even, I don't know if I'm going at it the right way, but
I know what you're saying, and
pick up on what I'm saying?
yeah, I follow what you're saying, and you're not the first person to bring it up, and I hate to be like global conspiracy, but man, I wouldn't put it past this ruling class of how evil they are, of going, well, let's see how many people we can get rid of, because there's too, if we're not giving up our wealth and our resources to help the masses, so we just need to get rid of some of the masses so we can keep, siphoning money from them. Having done extensive videos on the Epstein case and seeing how evil the billionaire ruling class is, I mean, pure evil. I wouldn't put it past them. And I'm even starting to do some research on that. And I'm probably going to be releasing some videos showing that there are maybe some evidence to say, like, oh, let's let this thing spread so we can, thin the herd or whatever. I don't know. I don't trust the 1% at all. They're detestable, soulless maggots.
Yeah, it's almost like, to break it down more, it's like, if we get rid of the poors, that's less Medicaid, that's less food stamps, that's less LIHEAP, that's less unemployment. Like, it, in a sick way, it's, you could see them thinking that'll save us money.
Yes, of course.
As egregious as it is.
It's not, unfortunately, Joy, it's not crazy what you're saying. That's it sounds crazy to rational people like you and I that have souls, but that's how they think. They've absolutely thought, how can, if a bunch of people die, because we're not giving up our money. They could give up, Jeff Bezos is worth $158 billion. He could end homelessness in America today. He could give all of his workers union jobs with great benefits. He could be giving them all combat hazard pay. They're putting their lives on the line. So if you're in the Army and you get deployed, to Iraq, you get more money than if you get deployed to like South Korea or Germany or something like that. So if you're working at a grocery store, you should be getting hazard pay. If you're dealing with it, you have to deal with the public. If you're working in the medical field, you should be absolutely be getting hazard pay. And Jeff Bezos and people like that, he could give up 157 of his $1 billion. End homelessness, take care of all of his employees, make the world a better place, and he would still have $1 billion left. 1 billion, which is more money than any of us could even fathom. He could still have his private jet and his homes. He just bought one for $150 million. He could do that. But they're sociopaths and they don't want to do that. And we can't shame them or wag our fingers or pass some legislation. We need to shut them down. We need to let them know that 99 is more than 1. There's more of us than there are of you, and you better play ball quickly.
Do you think that, I mean, I know within us, the activist community, most of us are balls to the wall. Tell us when, we'll be there. But do you think even with this pandemic that there are enough people, enough working poor, enough that they will all join us in the streets when it's healthier? Do you think there are enough?
Well, first, that's a great point, because we've seen all these things in the past and we thought, when are people going to wake up? When are they going to wake up? The thing about Americans especially is we don't have free health care, so we have to work 2-3 jobs to stay alive, so that we don't have time to be activists. Like in France, they have free health care. So, and also, if you got a job with good health care, you're not going to protest or strike that company because you don't want to lose your health care. So they've set the system up to keep us sort of enslaved. But this pandemic's very different, because one thing's for certain. I've heard people say we can't go out in the streets and strike because of the lockdown. Well, we certainly can do a general strike from the comfort of our homes. We can all stop ordering on Amazon right now, today. They are circling, the mayor's in their cars and standing 6 feet apart in Los Angeles because rent's due today, and the mayor and the city council they've said, oh, there's a moratorium on evictions, but people are like, what does that mean? I can't pay my rent today. Today's April 1st. I cannot pay my rent. What do I do? And there was a protest around the governor's mansion today, and people all stayed in their cars and honked. So if, 300 million Americans decide we're not participating in your capitalism from the comfort of our own homes, things will change. I don't shop at Whole Foods anymore. I don't have Amazon Prime. I will not shop through Amazon. I won't do it because I support their workers, and that's how this is going to happen. And more people will get involved because they're going to be forced to. We have 25 to 30% unemployment. That's going to be 50 to 100 million people are unemployed. That group, I bet you could motivate them to rally for a strike.
Absolutely. That's just, my God. Being an empath is really fucking hard. Like, especially like lately, it's like it's gonna be the end of us. It's insane. It is getting some national coverage. So there's a place in Philly, in PA, where I am, and it's called Hahnemann Hospital. And it closed down almost a year ago. Bernie and Nina were outside protesting when they were closing it. It is a literal, like a full-size hospital that was closed. They're still refusing to open it. And it's like fully working, like there's stuff in it, like, and they're refusing to open it. And Philly is like just bombarded with cases of the virus right now, as is New York, which is only like 2 hours from it. So what are, it's just so disturbing. What are some of the things you're seeing that is really hitting you?
Well, stuff like that. I'm first of all, for my own mental health, I'm looking for a lot of positive news, and I'm seeing positive news. I'm seeing like 25,000 medical people just volunteered and went basically to New York, because they're overrun there. Retired doctors, and that's inspiring to me. There's a story I saw in Los Angeles. These two sisters that are both like college age realize that there's all these elderly and people who are immune compromised that can't go shopping. So they started this volunteer group on Facebook, I believe, to go out and shop for people. And they're going to the markets with gloves and masks and all that stuff, and they're dropping bags of groceries. So I'm seeing stuff like that. I'm seeing, General Motors and Ford, rallying to make low-cost ventilators. And I saw this guy in Texas on the news this morning making these like ventilator helmets, and he's overrun with orders, and he's not raising his cost. He just wants to help people. And I'm seeing the goodness in America come out. And also what's going to happen, back to the other point about, will people start protesting and rallying? So that hospital, if they won't open that hospital, we're not even at the apex of this curve yet, of this spike in cases. And when you start, one thing about it, Americans can just, the problem's over there, it's over there. We're not going to worry. I can't worry about these wars and the drone strikes, and it's not my problem. Or I don't live in Flint, that's not my problem. When you start, hospitals are closed and you're stacking up bodies in every major city and small town all throughout the country, Americans are going to really wake up. And they're going to go, how the hell did this happen? And we're going to go, a for-profit healthcare system that buys both political parties equally. The healthcare lobby spends equal amounts of money in both political parties. Mm-hmm. So why were these hospitals closed? Cuomo has 20,000 hospital beds have been shut down in his last 10 years. Not to mention, and there's hospitals like what you're talking about in Philly and New York. That's all over the country. Oh, budget cuts. We always got money for war. We always got money for bank bailouts, but we don't have monies for hospitals and schools. I think we have an opportunity here for the whole country, and by default, the world, to really wake up. Americans need to wake up to how corrupt our system is, and how we need to the people need to reclaim this country, because right now it is not a democracy. Our elections are fake. They're rigged. Our elected officials do not serve us. They serve the corporate donors. So we have a kleptocracy run by oligarchs, and this is our opportunity now, because the people really have the power in this moment, more so than ever. The people have the power in this moment to go, hey, 1%, you better back the fuck up, or we're going to steamroll you and your goddamn gated community.
Absolutely. I think back, especially when this first started and people were talking about rent strikes, like, it was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, several months ago, the UK, they protested their public transit, and they just started giving people free bus rides. Bus rides are like $1.25, but it lasted like 2 days, and they're like, okay. It's the same thing. Like, if everybody joins in, if landlords don't get rent from enough people, they're fucked. Yep. And they have to listen. They have to. They have no other choice. You can't just kick out all of your tenants. So the more people who stand together, the better things are going to be. I just can't help but worry that there's still going to be some people, you know what I mean, that have trepidation. But I think we're at this point where it's like, it's not going to get any more dire than this. So this is, do you want to be on the right side of history or not? Like, it's really that black and white at this point.
When people can't feed their families and pay their rent, and they can't afford medical costs, and somebody dies because they were denied, this has happened where somebody has died. They had COVID and they wouldn't be treated because they didn't have health insurance. So that's going to keep happening. And people that do have health insurance and get treated for it, they're going to go bankrupt. And what's going to happen? People are just going to say, fuck this. Because it's not a concept to try to get your head around. It'll be happening to Americans right in their home, on their front doorstep.
Absolutely.
Americans are... We've never seen empty food shelves in our country before. I thought that only happened in evil socialist countries, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. I noticed that, people, now I got distracted because what you said is absolutely true. I forgot what I was going to say. Continue.
Well, no, I mean, just that's the thing. I think that this is knocking on everybody's front door. Everybody is involved in this. The whole world is having to deal, and the whole world is having to admit it's powerless over this pandemic. And we're seeing in America that the government isn't really helping us. I mean, we look at what South Korea did that has free healthcare. South Korea is a very capitalist country, but one of the big things was testing. That's what's critical right now. To figure out what this disease is doing and to get research and to find a vaccine, we need testing. Every doctor and scientist that I watch on television says this. South Korea, everybody got tested. They tested like almost the whole country so they could really see, and they quarantined and they clamped it down. We don't have tests. They cost money, and now maybe they're free. There are not enough made. We don't know. But half of our products, our medical tests and equipment are made overseas. So we can't just ramp up production here today. It's like everyone's seeing that in real time. If we had real tests, we would have a much better idea. And that's one of the things you see these doctors who are doing their best. And these doctors and scientists, especially like Fauci and Dr. Birx, they're just like, yeah, we need more testing. We need more information. We need more data. And everyone's seeing in real time, if we had free health, if we had Medicare for all, free healthcare, and also a pandemic task force that was disbanded by Trump 2 years ago. Dr. Trump has been talking about this for 30 years, and we're not ready?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing stories of people who are being turned away because they don't have healthcare. That is fucking illegal. But no one's holding them accountable because pandemic. It's very, well, you don't have insurance, you're expendable, and then they die. So being told that your life doesn't matter because you can't afford some fucking corporate bullshit is just the height of disgusting privilege. And we're seeing that all over. There's also a doctor, I'm not sure if you saw the article, I can't remember what state he's from, damn it, but he was fired because he took to social media about how bad the conditions were in his hospital, and they fired him for it. And it's like, don't fucking fire him for it, change. And then he can talk about how good it is, you stupid. Ugh. So it's like you're seeing these things and you're seeing these people, you know, like the gentleman from Amazon, and you're seeing them stand up and they're being penalized for calling attention to things that need attention being called to. I mean, we need to know this as public. We need to have outrage. If you don't, you're not paying attention.
This pandemic and the awful American healthcare system are going to affect all of us in one way or another, either directly or through somebody we know or something. It's going to affect all of us. We're all going to be affected by this, and we all need to realize we need to just say no and demand free healthcare and free testing and free everything. I mean, this is bullshit. And socialism for the 1%, and we all get shitty capitalism. You know, it's just like all this socialism is being thrown around. I mean,
absolutely.
We could have everything that we want in this country. We should be able to deal with this country, with this pandemic. If we had Medicare for all, it would just be like, okay, we're going to handle this. It'll be okay. We'll be all right, you know? And we're not. We're falling behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen, did you see how Brie Joy is still trending after 2 days?
No.
You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
She had the audacity to step to Kamala, your girl, who you just love so much.
I love it.
I know. You love Kamala as much as I love Liz Warren. It's just, you know, we can't help it. Kamala posted, everyone should have free COVID tests and regardless of insurance. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're late, but and $27 short, but whatever. Try. Okay, cool. Everyone's saying that now. Big deal. And Brie shared it and was like, cool, what about cancer tests, diabetes tests, things like this? All of a sudden, Brie is getting called out for being mean because Kamala lost her mother to cancer, which none of us knew, first of all. Second of all, then she should want free testing even more, I would think. Like, we all lost people due to things that should have been covered. I don't understand, but she's been trending for 2 days now. People have been being racist, just disgusting. Bernie Sanders should fire her because how dare she say that to Kamala? Like, it is the most disgusting display. And it just goes to show that, like, people are more concerned with, you know, defending someone who is throwing breadcrumbs than someone who is trying to help poor people get insurance. Like, this is, you know, you shouldn't have to sell this idea to people. Why do you have to like beg them to understand that we need this?
America is like a alcoholic home. And so everyone in America is like people that grew up in an alcoholic home, where the people in charge are crazy alcoholics, and what they get you to think is that the sky is green. And when you stand up and go, wait a minute, the sky's blue, you're shamed for that. So when you call out the powerful in this insane abusive relationship that we have, the ruling class is our abusers. They are like alcoholic abusers. And Americans have been so abused that they don't even know how screwed they are and how much they've been abused. They really don't even know. They just think that, oh, like when I hear people defend billionaires and corporations on social media, I'm just like, wow, they've been so abused.
You're not going to be one, dude. You're not. Stop defending them.
It's never going to happen. So it's really, and they refuse to, and the ruling class has done a fantastic job of making the left vote against their own interests with identity politics, and they make the right vote against their own interests with, family values and the Second Amendment and the Bible. So they really keep people divided and fighting with each other over this nonsense rather than what's really going on. The outrage should be the $4.25 trillion that just went to banks when many people can't pay their rent today. That's what people should be outraged. That's what should be trending for 2 days straight, not Kamala's little feelings getting hurt. Like, you lost your mother. That's unfortunate. We've all lost people to cancer, people we've cared about. We've all lost people to cancer. And why didn't they get free cancer screenings? Why? And then you add to the medical bills on top of that, which just compound the loss. So, it just shows you the neoliberals and the corporate press and the idiots at The View,
Yeah. Well, speaking, I digress quite a bit, but we kind of went over what we were going to talk about. And speaking of online and trending, so the whole Tara Reade thing, and I'm sure all my viewers know, but she's the latest person to accuse Joe Biden. She's the 8th. This one is by far the most graphic and the most intense, if you will. But we are noticing a whole kind of, we're noticing people who say Me Too and stepped up to Kavanaugh deleting all of their posts from last year, which say Me Too and believe women. Simone Sanders, Alyssa Milano, Neera Tanden, basically all the people we love. They're just going back and deleting everything. So the interesting thing is, it's kind of a self-own, because you're being a hypocrite and we're going to call you out on it. So you're deleting it. But the amount of people who are not just disregarding it, but who are saying things like, I'd vote for my own rapist if it means Trump would get out of office. And, the woman running for office in Florida who said, well, he has a lot more rapes to do before he catches up to Trump, things like that. Well, that's just fucking great. Like, and these are, people are like, oh, Republicans are so gross. These are Democrats saying this. And as a woman, I am so repulsed. I cannot even stand how disgusting so many women are, because it's my experience. I'm seeing way more men sticking up for Tara Reade than women, and it's gross. What is your take? Like, I know you've talked about it before. I know you see all the egregious things being said. What are some of your thoughts on the way this is not playing out, I should say?
Well, it's just it's so offensive. At first and foremost, that these neoliberal blue checks, and it also shows you that, the Me Too movement was started for very noble reasons by a woman, who was a rape survivor, and the Me Too movement did a lot of wonderful things in terms of raising awareness and putting people like Harvey Weinstein, who's in jail now, and he's got COVID-19, so that lets us know there is a God.
Evolution in progress.
Progress. That guy's going to die of COVID-19 in jail. I hope it's painful. But it shows you how the Me Too movement got completely hijacked by these mainly Hillary supporter white feminists, who were not about equality and calling out abusers. They just wanted to go after Republican men. This is the same group who said believe all women, but really kind of didn't hold Susan Collins and those Republican women accountable when they backed Kavanaugh. They kind of just went after Kavanaugh, as well you should. He's the abuser. But then all these Republican women. So it shows several things to me. First of all, the Kavanaugh case and then the reaction from the left against Biden in this case shows you how awful this stupid, filthy two-party system is. That women will defend a rapist of their own party rather than call out the rapist. This is how insane these two parties are. So there's that. And then it just shows you the full of shit how the neoliberals are the worst. They are worse in some cases and in some ways than the, like, you know, Confederate flag waving MAGA hat Trump supporter. Because, you know, you could argue that the person that grew up in the small town and, you know, doesn't know anybody different than them, their whole view is one-sided. But you're seeing the neoliberal, they went to college, they think they're so woke, they think they're so open-minded, and they're literally smearing a woman, calling her a Russian asset. They're really, it's, and saying the fact that women, it's just, it's astonishing to see women do this, because I, you know, as a man during the Me Too movement, I saw all these, all men are bad, only, you know, only men do bad things, believe all women posts. And I was like, no, I'm actually a survivor of a female pedophile. There's way more female pedophiles on this planet than people want to admit, let alone acknowledge or point out. So we're seeing how awful the two-party system is. We're seeing how awful the neoliberal is and how full of shit they are. And it's just more evidence to completely be done with this awful, corrupt system. And people like Alyssa Milano, her boyfriend or husband or whatever works at CAA, and they get, you know, they rep Biden. I mean, this whole corporate, the View wants us to think that, oh, it's this diverse panel. No. There's a black millionaire, there's a white conservative millionaire, there's an old Jewish millionaire, there's an Asian millionaire. They're all millionaires that are paid to push this propaganda, and their disagreements are just as valid as, like, you know, professional wrestling. It's a scam, and it's really detestable. Like, I don't want to hear the believe all women. I don't want to hear that anymore from these neoliberals, when they're just basically saying, Tara Reade, if she said that exact same thing about a Republican man, they would be screaming. And it's the same point I made. If I gave you a white male that had Hillary Clinton's voting record and where she got her donation money from and what she did as Secretary of State, they never would have voted for her at all. That's the other thing. I'm so tired of this. Like, Hillary Clinton was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane twice. Bill Clinton was on his plane 26 times. This isn't conspiratorial. These are flight logs. They're eyewitness and flight log accounts. They were at Jeffrey Epstein's compound in New Mexico numerous times. Ghislaine Maxwell, who Virginia Roberts said in a sworn deposition that Ghislaine Maxwell raped and trafficked her, was invited to Hillary Clinton's wedding, Chelsea Clinton's wedding, after she settled out of court with Virginia Roberts. So that's the bullshit neoliberal Me Too movement. They're all fucking full of it. They support rapists and pedophiles if it's someone on their team. That's it. And they're detestable. They're pieces of shit.
You know, one of the reasons I didn't vote for Hillary is because she's married to a fucking rapist and she bullied his accusers.
Yeah.
Don't march with your pussy hat with a Hillary button, you fucking hypocrite. It's infuriating. It's to the point where, like, as a woman, I feel like if I said I was raped, they're going to be like, were they a Democrat? Before they care. Like, it's really that simple. Do they have a D next to their name? If not, sorry, there's an asterisk. Yeah. You know, it's so disgusting. So when people defend Biden, I say, put Trump's face over Biden's. Are you now mad? And they deflect. And I'm like, no, you're not. Are you mad? Is it still okay? Do you still respond that way? And I get blocked. And it's like, you are such a fucking hypocrite. Like, if that was Trump, if Tara Reade said Trump instead of Biden, they would be fucking planning like another women's march. Like, it would be on.
Yep.
But it's Biden. So it's okay. He's an affectionate person. I guess that means like going up someone's skirt is affectionate.
No, he exhibits all the signs of a pedophile. When you see him holding those videos and smelling the little girl's hair and the way he touches them, those are like, I've seen experts say he exhibits the signs of a pedophile.
And if he does that in public on camera, you're really like not, I mean, it's incredible. And then people wonder why women don't come forward after seeing what Tara Reid is going through. I mean, I deal with a lot of politicians. You know, you do too in independent media. You know, I meet a lot of them. I am so fortunate that I've never had any kind of like interaction that has made me feel uncomfortable. But I can tell you, if I did, there is no way in fuck I would ever come forward knowing what Tara's going through. Like, there's no, I wouldn't be able to survive it. I wouldn't.
There's
Like,
no,
I would never have that bravery. So she kicks ass for that.
yeah, she's
Um,
amazing, and good for Katie Halper for having her on her show
yes,
and putting
yes,
it out there. And then all of us in the indie media pushing it out there too, because the corporate media won't. Whoopi Goldberg just tries to smear Bernie Sanders in some bullshit live stream rather than admit the fact that she supports rapists.
yep, absolutely. And she has been a victim herself, which this is what always blows my mind. And perhaps maybe that is part of why I don't know. Sometimes I guess it's cyclical. I don't know, but it's just like you've been there. Why aren't you, you know, more passionate about helping people?
Because she's
It's
got money. Because it comes down
yeah.
to money, power, and influence, and she doesn't want to give up that multi-million-dollar gig sitting on that stupid couch. So
Mhm.
she's going to say what she's got to say to protect her power. When push comes to shove, the ruling class, the powerful, the wealthy, well, they will always protect each other. Just like Jane Lynch saying, hey, billionaires have a right to vote too in wine caves. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
that's when a push comes to shove. She's going to defend billionaires because Whoopi Goldberg and Alyssa Milano are millionaires because they play ball. They work for billionaires. And the billionaires allow them on TV and in movies and give them these big paydays and this nice life, provided they don't call out the truth of what's happening. You call out the truth of what's happening, you lose your house and you do a YouTube show in your one-bedroom rent-controlled apartment.
Yep, absolutely. Or you do it in front of a fucking dresser in a spare bedroom. Like, I interview congressmen in front of a fucking dresser. But you know what? It's all good. Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Graham. Um, let people know, for those who kind of joined a little late, what is going on Saturday, something super exciting, and also where they can find you.
Yes, Ron Placone and I, first of all, if you go to grahamelwood.com, I'll put the ticket link actually in on my tour dates at grahamelwood.com. It's this Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. It is a live stand-up comedy show on Zoom. The tickets are only $5. You go to Brown Paper Tickets, the link. You buy the ticket, we'll send you the Zoom link. It's Ron Placone and myself. And then, of course, I have The Political Vigilante, which is a YouTube show. We're just upwards of 65,000 subscribers. I do about 3-4 videos a day, and I do live streams probably 3 or 4 days a week. So follow me, and then I'm on all the social media at Graham Elwood. So if you just go to grahamelwood.com, you get all this information.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Graham. And it was great seeing you. I always love. Say hi to my girl, would you? I know Jenna's watching, so I know she's flipping out right now because her and I do the voice together.
Hey guys!
Yeah! Oh my God.
Thoughts and soaps, Joy. So, fuzzies.
Thank you, Graham. You're the best. Oh my God. My sandals look so cute right now. You have no idea. I just painted my toenails red and they look so cute. Oh my God. If you guys haven't seen Graham do it, you have to, because it's amazing. I don't do it justice.
Yeah,
but in any case, thank you so much, Graham. I love you. I adore you. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Joy. I love you too, sweetie. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.